On the track of Somalia Geared for Growth, we have Abdi Salam Ahmed Ibrahim, the Group Strategy Director for Harvard Africa, a think tank that is advising government as well as private sector with regards to investments in Somalia. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Somalia is rebuilding itself from scratch. And of course, there are so many needs, risks, and opportunities that it presents for investors. But what are some of the policies that the government needs to put in place in order to ensure investors and would-be investors who are eyeing, coming into Somalia, that their investments are secure?
Yeah, the policy and procedures definitely need to be in place just to obviously ease the minds of investors and potential clients that are coming into the region. The government are working very hard on the point to make sure the policy and procedures actually get done, and obviously that's one of the things that we are trying to promote and do with the government as we speak in the initiative of putting the reconstruction and rebuilding, which is the first conference of its kind here in Nairobi that has been happening for the last 2 days for the expedition. So in terms of investors, the opportunities, as you can imagine, are immense, very high, and for investors that want to come and rebuild and obviously take advantages of many different industries, including oil and gas, fishing, farming, aviation, all kinds of things. But to put into perspective for investors, the first thing they want obviously to know is, can they make money? And are they going to make money? And that's the 1 million question. And I think to cover that, I think, yeah, definitely. The potential is there. Obviously, the risks are always going to be a bit greater than maybe investing in more stable places and countries across the globe. Because obviously Somaliland, as you know, and Somalia have been in different war for the last 2 decades, as you can imagine. But yeah, we have advised, and obviously what we're saying to investors is, yes, the investors that are thinking about coming in on board, there's money to be made. When
you speak to these investors, what are some of the gaps they tell you that they're concerned about? I know security has really emerged as one of the main issues, but besides that, are there other concerns that the investors are pointing out to you?
In terms of policy and procedures and security, and just making sure when they invest, nobody actually goes in behind their back and obviously does that. And I think what the global media and CNN, Al Jazeera and what have you not have been giving the globe and different investors is a total different picture. What needs to happen is the African media that needs to go in and do some fact finding in Somalia and obviously get some success stories. I can tell you on top of my head about 2 to 3 different success stories that have happened, and investors have gone in and invested heavily into Somalia and Somaliland, and obviously have benefited and made good success.
In as much as we have the mantra that high risk, high returns, of course investors would want also, some of the concerns that were raised during the conference that I attended yesterday was the question of liberalizing the economy, so that the investors can feel that they're able to actually make the returns fairly. Is that a concern that you also share with the investors? And also, what are the measures the government is putting in place to ensure that the economy is liberalized?
Yeah, that is a very key issue, and obviously key point that needs to be discussed, and that's something that we are very closely working with the Somali and Somaliland government, and as discussed and obviously as raised. But to be honest, as I said before, the opportunities are always going to be there and thereabouts. The risks are just going to be a bit hard, but the need of rebuilding and constructing the whole country infrastructure and what have you not is huge. So I would encourage all investors out there across Africa, not just across Africa, but across the globe, to obviously take a very deep look into it.
But what is the assurance that these investors have that once they set up in Somalia, that they can be able, for instance, to repatriate profits back home, and also that they're not likely to have government interference in their businesses?
Yeah. Both Somali government, it's a permanent government recognized by the US and by the globe, so obviously I think they will be held accountable. And so obviously where policy and procedures are going to be put in place to make sure the investors are well covered, obviously to make sure anything that obviously they make is taken to account, and obviously they can take that abroad. Is being processed and obviously being looked into, and that's something that we as Harvard make sure that we can obviously advise and work with potential clients and potential investors.
Looking at the financial needs that Somalia has, of course it's starting from scratch. Would it be possible to estimate just how much? I spoke to the minister this morning on energy, and she says we require at least $500,000 for the national grid. Is it possible to have a summation of how much it requires to take off the economy of Somalia?
For sure. It would be nice, but it's huge. And as I said, it's been in civil war for 2 decades. As you can imagine, the basic infrastructure is not there. What both Somalia and Somaliland government at the moment are doing is making sure they are rebuilding the basic infrastructure that will encourage more investors, if you have basic infrastructure, to come on board and take advantage of the great opportunities that are available in both countries. And the beaches, obviously, Somalia has the biggest coastline available in the whole of Africa, as you know. So it's
we'll be running out of time, but many thanks for joining us. That was Abdi Salam Ahmed Ibrahim. He is the Group Strategy Director for Harvard Africa.